Live from Fort Wayne, this is a special edition of Fort Wayne's NBC News. It's election eve of a contentious mayor's race. Tonight, a conversation with the candidates. Now, here's Linda Jackson and Tom Powell.
Live from downtown Fort Wayne on this election eve, our conversation with the candidates in just a moment. But first, on this election eve, there's some breaking news when it comes to the election.
Good evening, everyone. For Tom Powell, I'm Linda Jackson. Now, if you were trying to get a state-issued ID card earlier this afternoon or this evening, throughout the state, there were some problems with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Let us tell you about it. By law, it was supposed to stay open until 8 tonight, Monday before the election day. That is state law. But a technical failure with a vendor caused an outage that affected branches, kiosks, as well as the BMV's website. Officials say they hope to fix that problem and then be available to serve all Hoosiers from 6 to 6 come tomorrow. All right, now back to our conversation with the candidates. And the big question tonight is Mayor Tom Henry of Fort Wayne going to get 4 more years from the voters of this city?
Or will voters elect a newcomer, businessman Tim Smith? We're betting that some of you at home tonight still have yet to make up your mind.
So we had the idea to have a conversation with both of the candidates, Democratic Mayor Tom Henry as well as Republican challenger Tim Smith. And we asked them the same 3 questions verbatim. They were big issues in our city. We're sure that you would agree. They are economic development, crime and safety, as well as neighborhoods.
And our final question will be asking each candidate, why should the voters give you a chance in office, or in Mayor Tom Henry's case, give you another term in office? We're trying to present this in a very straightforward manner, just very straightforward, same amount of time for each candidate.
Yes, so here's the first question, their answers in alphabetical order, our conversation with the candidates.
The first question we asked both candidates was about economic development. What's going well and what needs to improve or change? Both agree that downtown Fort Wayne's growth is a plus, with Smith saying downtown has grown at the expense of other neighborhoods like Southeast Fort Wayne. And Henry touting low unemployment numbers under his watch. Both emphasize job growth as well.
Manufacturing plants of old, for the most part, are gone. A lot of it's now done by robotics, but in order to have those robots work, you have to have somebody who's educated in computer-aided manufacturing. So we have to really work towards creating a synergistic relationship between our educators and our employers. What positions are out there now that need to be filled, and which ones are going to be needed in the next 3 to 5 years? And then we meet with our educators to make sure that the course offerings they have now or the post-secondary degrees that they're offering match up with those jobs now and for the future. And also the wages. If you want to hold on to good employers, you've got to pay them, or employees, you've got to pay them a wage that they can live on.
I think one of the mayor's chief responsibilities is to be the job attractor in chief, the cheerleader in chief of Fort Wayne. The best mayors in the best cities in America do exactly that. So it's no surprise at all if you consider that not since General Motors in the mid-'80s has a large employer chosen Fort Wayne from outside the district. Not one since the mid-'80s. Vera Bradley, homegrown. Sweetwater, homegrown. The growth at Brotherhood Mutual or Medical Protective, all homegrown. The best cities in America have converted their manufacturing bases to high-tech manufacturing bases.
The second question, perhaps the hottest issue, the state of crime and public safety in the Fort. Henry says we have more officers on the streets than ever, and we live in a safe city. Smith says we need more police officers to solve an increase in violent crime.
Let's talk about the number of firefighters we have in our city. In the last 12 years, we have 5 fewer firefighters than we did when Tom Henry took office. Let's talk about the number of police officers. If you look at the net number of new officers we've hired, we've added 2 or 3 a year over the last 12 years. And adding 2 or 3 a year leaves you 1/3 below the average for where the FBI says we should be. We've set 2 records in recent years in terms of the total number of murders. If that's not offensive enough, the number of murders, We have, according to the Journal-Gazette, we have 166 unsolved murders just in the last 12 years. If you go back farther, the number is in the mid-300s. We are having more violent crime. It is not getting solved.
We are at a full complement of police officers. We have 485 police officers, which is more than we've ever had. The chief of police has asked me to consider hiring 15 more because he wants to increase the exposure of our police officers in the community. We have a wonderful community-oriented police program now. We have police officers that go to neighborhood association meetings, they go to partnership meetings, they go to our schools, we have the safety village, we have a number of offerings involving our police department and our fire department as well. It's all been by design. Actually, it was started before me. But I'm very happy with where we're at as far as personnel, technology, and ongoing education in the police department.
Well, those were the first two issues. And our third question for both of the candidates was, give voters your thoughts on the state of neighborhoods in the Fort. What is going well, or maybe what needs to change or improve?
Yeah, Smith stressed paying attention to areas of the city that he says have been neglected for far too long, while Henry says that your taxpayer dollars are being put to good use downtown and in outlying neighborhoods.
Just as much as I believe downtowns are the heart of a city, neighborhoods are the backbone. You're not going to have an active, vibrant downtown if you don't have neighborhoods with people in it to support that activity. When I first took office in 2008, we got about maybe $8 million a year. And we got that from gasoline tax. That was the only source of revenue for infrastructure. And that's just not Fort Wayne, every city. Well, finally in 2013, 2014, I think it was 2014, the city council and I decided that this just could not go on. We had to address this in an aggressive fashion. So we had this plan for connectivity between neighborhoods and schools. We put together a plan for our alleys. We put together a plan for street lights in certain areas. And we also added in riverfront. So some of that money went towards Promenade Park and will go towards phases 2 and 3. We put all those together, we presented it to the general public, and we said, we're going to need to raise your income tax a little bit. And it was just a little bit. And they did it, I approved it, and we did not receive one complaint because the taxpayers knew where their money was going to go.
What's going well is, at least in the last couple of years, we can see some neighborhood improvements. We can see new streets and we can see new sidewalks. The problem is, we're 12 years too late. 12 years ago, the mayor should have put in place a very simple, long-term capital improvement plan. He didn't. He didn't identify the needs. He didn't put a funding mechanism in place. Instead, he and the city council passed a tax increase only 2 years ago to begin funding these things. There are 30 neighborhoods in this city that were promised new streets and sidewalks by the end of this calendar year that are now no longer on the list. They're not getting done in 2019, and they're probably not getting done in 2020. Instead of telling neighborhood associations, oh yeah, we'll get to your streets this year and not get there, we're actually going to lay out a realistic plan based on the funding to get there.
Last question, tell voters why they should vote for you.
This election is about tomorrow. It's about the next 4, 8, 12 years, not about the last 4, 8, or 12 years. Tom Henry is running for his 40th year in office. He has not applied basic business principles to infrastructure or capital planning, to budgeting, to hiring folks at a wage commensurate with the risk. What I will do as mayor is I'm going to leverage 25 years of business leadership to apply business principles to government. We will be the best run city government in the nation by applying business principles.
Well, there are 7 or 8 areas that we mayors judge on a pretty regular basis to determine whether or not we feel that our city is moving in the right direction. And I feel that Fort Wayne is hitting on all of those cylinders. I think our public safety division is one of the finest around. Our police department and fire department have the most skilled officers I've ever met. We've invested a lot of effort in our downtown, in our infrastructure, as I mentioned. We put a lot of money into our park system. our latest being Promenade Park. We've put a lot of money into our city utilities. We know that we've been extremely successful the last 10, 12 years as a community. We're the talk of Indiana.
Well, that's the latest from the candidates, and now it's time to have your voice heard.
Yeah, and if early voting is any indication, more people are taking part in this election. Allen County Election Board officials say at the end of the satellite voting period, 10,000 people had cast their ballots early. They say they mailed out an additional 4,000 ballots. Officials tell us those numbers are up significantly from previous elections. By the way, today's numbers will come out later. And remember, this is a municipal election in Allen County. If you don't live within city limits of Fort Wayne, Monroeville, Leo Cedarville, or New Haven, you won't be heading to the polls tomorrow. And remember, because of a change in state law, there is a new way you'll need to vote if you plan to vote straight party ticket. Now, this is important. If you click straight party, the machine will select party choices for mayor, city clerk, and your district's city council representative. But it will not select candidates for city council at large. You'll need to go to the second page of the ballot and individually push buttons for the candidates that you want.
So do you need a ride perhaps to the polls? Well, CityLink is offering free service tomorrow. It runs from 5:30 in the morning until 9:30 at night. And you can find a list of pickup locations on our website. It's fortwaynesnbc.com. Also, we want you to stay tuned with us tomorrow. We're going to have Election Day team coverage morning through night with Julian, Jack, and the rest of the Fort Wayne's NBC Today team beginning at 5 in the morning all the way through 7 in the morning. And then we'll be back on the air in the evening at 5 and 6 with live reports from the election night watch parties for you. And of course, throughout the night with cut-ins and as well at 11 on your newscast. All your results.
And for updates throughout the day and whenever news breaks, download the Fort Wayne's NBC News app. It's available for both iPhone and Android, free in your app store. Once you download it, you can sign up for push alerts so you're always up to date on breaking news. So it is a pretty nice fall election eve here in downtown Fort Wayne. Not too cold.
No complaints. I wonder, though, what tomorrow, Election Day, has in store. I've been to the polls plenty of times in the past when I needed my umbrella. Will tomorrow be like that? Chief Meteorologist Chris Daniels is back at the studio in the Weather Center getting ready for your latest forecast as we continue to be focused on the fort.